Hello, this is Dr. Making Stuff, and this, the first episode of Screenshot. What did I do to get such a pretty audience? Jesus fuck, you look good. You're looking good. Today we're reviewing Love After World Domination, which is a tokusatsu-based romantic comedy. And tokusatsu, for those who don't know, is the Henshin genre, your Kamen Riders, your Ultramans, your Power Rangers, all that biz. So giant monsters and dudes in tights and that whole thing. And the red leader of these Power Rangers by the name of the Gelato 5 falls in love with an enemy combatant by the name of Reaper Princess. And she's sort of a Rita Repulsa type. So the Rita Repulsa type fights the red leader, and then they fall in love and becomes like a Romeo and Juliet forbidden romance thing. Will love conquer all? Well, yeah, kind of. So what you have to understand about our female lead is that she is cute as a button. This was done by Project 9 Studios, who did Dress Up Darling, and she looks like that, except she can fight. So if your one problem with the chick from Dress Up Darling was, man, that chick doesn't have any kicks, Reaper Princess has you covered. Her name is Decime. So Decime kicks ass and takes names, and that's cool. And then Fudo is the Red Ranger. And that Red Ranger is a thick boy. And I don't just mean his musculature, I mean his brain too. Now, when I say thick, I don't mean that he's unintelligent, because apparently he gets really good grades. I mean that Fudo is a singular man. He thinks of one thing and one thing only. Getting Decime, being with Decime. He loves the shit out of Decime. And their romance is really cute. You can tell she's never been authentically, loved as like a girl, right? She's been a victim of like some online bullying and stuff. The thing is with this show is that it honestly doesn't double down, triple down, quadruple down on the tokusatsu element. The tokusatsu element is there for comedy and setting, right? Which is pretty good in this show. But that element is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the focus. So first up, we'll talk about the visuals. Let me ask you a question. Is it better to do good animation sometimes and have subpar animation throughout? Or is it better to have consistently okay animation? If you have consistently okay animation, but you're never really allowed to let loose because of the budget, then your show's just going to look okay, like all of the other mid-tier anime out there. But if you choose to have some Sakuga moments, some moments of truly great animation, but your budget doesn't allow for it, then your show will end up looking subpar the rest of the time. This is obviously something that Love After World Domination had to contend with. It obviously has a 12-episode anime budget. This thing is not like an epic saga where they had billions of dollars to burn. And they decided that they wanted to prove that their animators could animate fight scenes and moments of Sakuga. So they decided, screw it, sometimes this anime is going to look great, and other times it's going to look crap. And I appreciate that. I mean, you gotta understand, right? The animation industry is rough, right? Everything you've ever done is a part of your portfolio. And the people who worked on this show can point out these good animation moments and be like, yeah, see, that was me. Whereas they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I think for the good of these artists and for the good of the show, the subpar animation being the standard and the Sakuga moments is probably for the best. Though I could see people wanting a more consistent experience. On the viewer's aspect of things, I understand wanting a consistent experience, but on the animators aspect, they took a risk, and I feel like that risk did show what they were made of. Also, the visual style of the anime is very, very pleasant. I felt like, this world was alive enough, right, to sell the premise of it. So for visuals, I gave it a 1 out of 2, but with a plus. The plus is like an extra 5%, essentially. You know what I mean? It's a 1.5 out of 2. Music and sound. The music and sound, like aside from the opening track, there's not really much that's great about this. But the thing that gives this an extra plus on it, the thing that makes it 1 plus, is because of the fact that the voice cast is amazing. Just amazing. Like, they sell the shit out of this. If you're going to watch this show, watch it in English, okay? Watch it in English, because it is a very, very, very funny dub, right? And all of the jokes are really well played to the point where if you know tokusatsu, like if you know the tokusatsu genre, you are going to laugh your ass off at parts of this show. So I'm a moderate tokusatsu fan, enough to know what it is and some of the legacy of it and some of the background information. And I was thoroughly impressed how much they were able to get the tokusatsu stuff to be comedy. That being said, if you're expecting tokusatsu stuff to have an effect on the plot, go elsewhere. We'll talk about that in a second when we get to story. But music and sound, 1+. So it's 1+ on the visuals. It's 1+ on the music and sound. The highest score we can get is 2. Let's see if anything has that. Setting and tone, it's just a 1. Sadly, this is because of the tokusatsu stuff just not paying off. Another aspect of the reason it was a 2. I was like, hey, as a romantic comedy, this thing rocks, right? But the last episode has the characters act in a way that I feel is off character for the sake of the plot, which does disrupt the tone after establishing such a strong relationship with our leads. Fudo is no thoughts in head. Nothing bothers this guy. He is made of Teflon. He would never quit or not call Desumi because of a fight. And she, for her part, is not like victim to the usual tropey BS, right? Like at one point she sees him with another girl and she knows he didn't cheat on her. She knows that, right? She's just mad because she felt jealous for the first time in her life. Very good writing on most of the show, but unfortunately the tone suffers near the end of it. Also, none of the background characters are really anything special, and like I said, the tokusatsu element isn't completely sold. I kind of wish that this show was like 30 episodes and that the tokusatsu plot had an even number of episodes dedicated to it. So we'd get episodes that are Fudo and Desumi romance story episodes that are tokusatsu episodes, and episodes that are dedicated to both things. But unfortunately, because of the fact that they didn't have the time for that, there's only really 2 episodes that are about the tokusatsu stuff, and the rest of it is very narrowly focused on the romance and comedy stuff, which is good because that's the premise of the show, but it's bad because when I see tokusatsu, I think, oh my god, we're going to get giant robot, giant monster fights. So, unfortunately, the setting and tone just didn't stay consistent there at that end, and I couldn't give it a 2 out of 2. Characters. This is the first 2 out of 2 of this review. Oh my god. I'm gonna gush about Desumi and Futo for a second. Like, I watched this show and it put me back kind of in my teenager state of mind, right? There was a time when I was not a bitter, angry neckbeard. And when I was not an angry, bitter neckbeard, I was like all love all the time. I was super like I thought of love as the redeeming quality of the human condition, you know? And this anime kind of took me back there, man, because these two, they see problems and they're just like, we're gonna beat that together, right? Everything that gets in the way is just an obstacle to them. You know what I mean? It's just like yeah, that's a problem, but it's not, you know, a deal breaker. And there's a lot of things that should be deal breakers. They're on the opposite sides of a good and evil power struggle. They're, you know, right? They have the same interest in terms of getting stronger. They go about it in completely different ways. Desumi is really smart. Fudo acts really dumb. Neither one of them are experienced with relationships at all, in very different ways. Desumi doesn't think she's capable of a relationship because she thinks that she's just not the kind of woman that deserves love or a boyfriend. And Fudo doesn't think he's capable of a relationship because up until this point, he has had no thoughts in head. So both of them really mature each other as a people and grow together. And it kind of was like, yeah, that is a thing that can happen. Like every now and then you see a piece of art and it reminds you like the thing that this art is depicting is real. And I've seen a lot of romances and I'm always kind of like, yeah, that's cute in the stories, but that's not how it works in real life. But the voice cast is handled so naturalistically that you feel like you're really third wheeling it with these people. You feel like you're really observing like a real romance. And it causes, I don't know, for me, maybe it's just because I was like ready to not be a bitter asshole. It causes you to really reevaluate your stance on certain things. I mean, at least for me it did. But I like these characters. They're really funny. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. A lot of anime, I'm going to be real, doesn't make me laugh. Most anime humor does not work on me, even when I'm watching, like, comedy shows. This show really did it for me, man. Like, I love our thick boy and the things that he says and does for his girl. He's, like, 100% committed. He's so earnest. He's got that Captain America, I never doubt his earnestness thing, where I'm like, you know what? I don't know if a guy like you could really exist, but I believe that you are him. You know what I mean? And Desime similarly is a little turtle duck and a cutie pie. You know what I mean? Who's full with angst. And both of them just play off of each other really well. There's one character who made a joke work that didn't work in Team 4 Stars Dragon Ball Z. So in Team 4 Stars Dragon Ball Z, there's a character who is Tien, right? And Tien is supposed to be the serious one. His whole thing is that he's a serious character in a comedy series. And it never works for me. I never laugh at a single Tien joke in Team 4 Star. There's a character who's the Green Ranger here, the green... let me think of their name again. Gelato, right? Pistachio Gelato. And he is legitimately funny. His seriousness is legitimately, because he's serious about things that aren't serious, right? That's the thing, right? He doesn't take the humor as humor or whatever, and he's not ignoring that the humor is happening around him. He's engaging the humor by taking everything literally, right? He's like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I actually like him, right? The rest of the supporting cast is meh. The Pink Ranger is a particular focal point. It kind of shows like how they deal with obstacles as a couple. And there's a really good fight with the Pink Ranger, kind of. It's very brief, but it's like one of those Sakuga moments I mentioned. But nothing to write home about with the rest of the characters and cast. There's not really supposed to be. This is the Fudo and Desime show. So characters, 2 out of 2. Story, 1 out of 2. With no plus. I'm sorry, but the story really just isn't there for me. Nothing happens in this show. The plot is spelled out for you in the first 3 episodes, and there's very little development after that. If you want to see these guys be cute and go through things and whatever, cool. But because of the tonal shift that happens at the end, where we make the characters act in ways that are unnatural to them, for the sake of plot, the story actually gets in the way of the experience that the show has been building up. And so the story gets a 1 out of 2. The reason it's not a 0 out of 2 is because of the fact that it is effective. I mean, the basic plot of this show does make for the kind of show that I want to watch. So I was engaged. In total, right, if you add up the full score, visuals, 1 out of 2, music and sound, 1 out of 2, setting and tone, 1 out of 2, characters, 2 out of 2, and story, 1 out of 2, you get 6 out of 10. But what you have to remember is that there's 2 pluses. 1 for visual and 1 for music and sound. And those 2 pluses, when added together, are 2.5s. They make another point, and boom, 7 out of 10, which is a good score. It's a very watchable anime. Also, there's no weird hentai fan service bullshit in this show. There's like boob and ass shots, but there's nothing that like your kids can't see, right? I mean, depending on how conservative you are as a parent, right? For the most part, if you watch this show, you're not going to have to deal with weird, awkward moments where if somebody walks in, it destroys the watchability. There's not a lot of blood and gore. This is perfect gateway. The English version of this is perfect gateway anime. If you have a friend who's a Power Rangers fan, who's never quite gotten into anime, but, you know, maybe they're cool with romance comedy, or you have a girl that wants to watch a romance comedy, but you don't really want to because you want something with a little bit more action, this is the show for you, dude. It's only 12 episodes long, okay? And it's good. It's really good. I was never bored. I was never bored watching Love After World Domination, which is the best thing I can say for this kind of show. Is it a masterpiece? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. None of these things are masterpiece, except for maybe the characters, in the sense that I was sold on their romance and I would want to hang out with them, which kind of does it work for the story, and would I want to hang out with these people are kind of the questions I ask when it comes to characters. And yeah. But other than that element of things, the show is just okay. And that's fine, right? having a show that's just good, that's just legitimately good. Not everything needs to be a masterpiece. Sometimes you need a palate cleanser. And this thing is a fluffy marshmallow. This is a sun-baked potato chip. This is something that you can enjoy, that's pleasant, that's not bad for you, right? You know what I mean? Take your mind off of things. I watched all 12 episodes of this in one night. It's a very, very breezy show. So if you want to add, another anime to the anime that you've watched, right? This is perfect. Pick it up, watch it in a day, and you've watched one more anime than you had before. Yep. Final score. Love After World Domination gets a 7 out of 10. It's good. Go watch it. This has been Screenshot with Dr. Making Stuff, signing out.